welcome back. Today we're gonna be once again talking about the Faroe Islands. Quite a few have asked me about my itinerary during my trip on the islands, so that's what I'm gonna share in this video today. Overall there are 18 islands on the Faroe Islands, so there's lots to do, and there's also a video about what you can do on the Faroe Islands already done and uploaded on this channel. In total I've spent 11 days on the Faroe Islands. I'm not just gonna go through the days and how it all went down. So the first day I arrived late in the afternoon. I had to do a COVID test, went back straight to my hostel to quarantine until I got the results. So of course I didn't do anything else during that day. Then the next morning I got the message that everybody on the plane was negative and I could go out and explore. The first few days I was staying in Sandavagur, which is on Vagar Island. So on that second day I just had a look around Sandavagur in the morning and also attempted a hike out to the Three Witches' Fingers, which is quite an impressive rock formation. Unfortunately on that day for me it was very foggy, so I couldn't see them. So I headed back down and caught a bus to get to the capital of the Faroe Islands, which is Torshavn on Streymoy Island. Once I arrived in Torshavn, I had a proper look around the city. It's really one of the cutest capitals you will ever visit. It's definitely worth a visit. There are so many nice restaurants. There are two beautiful, colorful ports to explore and much more. I then headed back to Sandavagur for the night and got up early the next morning to get out to Sorvagur. Sorvagur is still on Vagar Island and it's the place where you can catch the ferry over to Mykines. Make sure you don't miss out on Mykines Islands. It was my personal highlight of the trip. It's a small island, very remote and not that easy to get to. You can get there with the ferry or with the helicopter. Make sure you go to Mykines towards the beginning of your trip, because if you go towards the end of the trip you might miss the ferry back because of bad weather, or they might cancel the helicopter ride and you might miss your flight back home. So I recommend to go to Mykines Island at the beginning of your trip. Just as I have done it, you won't have anything to worry about. So I arrived on Mykines Island on day 3 of my trip and had a look around, installed my tent. There's a nice little campground on Mykines Island, elevated over the village of 48 people, and it's just the most magical place you could imagine. At night when the lights go on in the houses and there's no sound outside except the sound of the ocean, it's just something you can't experience anywhere else. Day 4, my full day on Mykines Island, I started with the eastern hike and then I also did the western hike out to the lighthouse, which is the more popular one. I do recommend to do both of the hikes. You'll have plenty of time and the scenery is just spectacular. Towards evening I took the ferry back to Sorvagur on Vagar Island and drove back to Sandavagur for my next night. On day 5 I joined a hiking tour out to Drangarnir. That's the spectacular stone arch formed by the ocean you've probably seen many times on Instagram already. The arch can be seen from Vagar Island and hikes start from Sorvagur. You have to take a guided hike as the viewpoint of the arch is private property. It cost 70 euros, so quite expensive, but it was a fun day of hiking and I think it's definitely worth to see Drangarnir. I then packed up my things in Vagar and drove over to Torshavn to spend the night there. The next morning I explored the National Museum of the Faroe Islands. They have an indoor section which is quite small, but also an outdoor museum which is much more interesting. You'll see how the people lived on the Faroe Islands in the past. It's in a really nice landscape too, and if you buy the ticket for the indoor museum, the outdoor museum is automatically also included. I then properly started my road trip off and drove to Fossa, a spectacular waterfall on Streymoy Island. I hiked up the second level, got an amazing view over the waterfall and also out to the fjord. Next up I drove to Tjornuvik. That's a remote little village with a private beach, but it's quite hard to get there. The roads are windy and single track, so be aware and drive carefully. Final stop of the day was Saksun, not too far, maybe a 20-minute drive. This village is very popular among tourists, but for good reason. The views of the valley you'll get are amazing, and you can even do a hike from Tjornuvik over to Saksun or the other way around. I started off day 7 in Eidi, where I spent the night on a campground on the Faroe Island. I then headed over to the village of Gjogv, very similar to the villages of Saksun and Tjornuvik. They also have a campground there, so that's also an option to stay there if you want to. I then drove 30 minutes back to a pass where you can start your hike to Slaettaratindur, which is a big mountain in the area. I certainly recommend that. That was one of my other highlights of the trip. You'll get an amazing overview over the fjords again. Just be careful when you get up to the top. It's a very narrow ridge and usually there's a strong wind, so don't trip and be very careful. Final stop of that day was Funningur village. This is often left out by tourists, but I wanted to have a look since it looked amazing from pictures, and it didn't disappoint at all. While I was driving in, there were sheep on the road and it was just very remote and special to be there. Since I had spent 2 nights in the tent, there was a strong wind during the night and it was raining and it was cold as well. So I decided to head back to Torshavn for the night and spend the night in a hotel to warm up and refresh a bit. The next morning then I headed back east to Kunoy, where I explored their little park they have there. This is one of the only places on the Faroe Islands where there are actually trees. Again, that's a very hidden gem. Many tourists don't go to that park, but it's definitely a nice activity to do. I spent the second part of my day on Kalsoy, took the ferry from Tjornuvik over. It's a car ferry, but I recommend you to be there very early. Be there 1 hour before departure or even 1.5 hours before departure, as the ferry is very small and fills up very quick. There also aren't too many ferries during the day. So I headed over to Kalsoy, explored Mikladalur, where there is the seal woman statue. Quite a big backstory behind the seal woman, and it's pretty important to the Faroese culture, so it's a nice thing to see. And then I drove on to Tollanes, where I wanted to see the Kalsoy lighthouse. Unfortunately, there was a sign that you could only hike out there with a guide. It should be possible to do by yourself, but I didn't want to risk it since it was already late in the day and there was this sign. So if you're planning to do the hike out to Kalsoy lighthouse, make sure you get up-to-date information on how you can get there. My day 9, I started with a ferry ride over to Nolsoy, a small island very close to the capital and perfect for a hike. You can hike the whole island from east to west. I just decided to climb up one of the hills close to the village, also had a little explore around the village there and spent another night in the camp. That was actually really nice. I was the only person camping on the island that night. Day 10, my final full day on the Faroe Islands. I headed back with the ferry to Torshavn, took the car up to Vagar Airport, where I got on a helicopter flight down to Torshavn. I just wanted to see Vagar Island from high above, and as I mentioned in the Things to Do in Faroe Islands video, helicopter rides on the Faroe Islands aren't as expensive as in other places, as it's used as a normal form of transportation. As you can imagine, I got breathtaking views over Vagar Island and also Torshavn when flying in. I then took the bus back to the airport, got in my car and explored my last spot of the trip, which was Gasadalur and its amazing waterfall. They made a little path out to the coast, so you'll get that perfect shot of the waterfall and the village together, and that was a great way to end my trip to the Faroe Islands. The last day I didn't have anything planned, just headed back to the airport and then flew back home. I do think 11 days or 9 full days were enough for a first impression of the Faroe Islands. However, I could have spent a lot more time there. There was still so much to explore and there's really endless beauty in that country. If you're interested to see more of the Faroe Islands, I do recommend you to watch my vlogs from the place. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.